Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Counting the days until the weekend when we have a winter storm that rolls in. I'll show you the newest trends as that storm gets closer.
In just hours, we are expecting a guilty plea from an 18-year-old charge in the 2022 Raleigh mass shooting. We have a live report on the court date that is just minutes away.
Taking the stand, we're waiting to see if a man charged with a double murder in Orange County testifies in his defense today. Laura Levine is watching developments from the WRAL Live Center.
Well, a major winter storm is in our forecast for the weekend, and this morning DOT trucks hit roads spreading a fresh coat of brine on major surfaces. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon on WRAL News. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Renee Chu. Widespread power outages are possible with this storm, which raises the concerns about alternative heat sources. WRAL's Carly Haynes will have that part of our winter weather coverage.
But we do want to go ahead and start with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner right now. She has been tracking this system for quite some time now. Elizabeth, this winter weather system, like many of them, it can be kind of tricky to forecast.
That's right. Always evolving. We're looking to see how things are going to shape up and what we'll actually see, what the timeline is, the amounts and all of that. And this storm is just beginning to form. And so it's going to be, still, 24, maybe even 48 hours until we have a really good sense. But we've gotten a lot of good information in over the last several days. And the new computer models came in just a little while ago. And both of them, both the European and the American model, are trending a little slower with the arrival. And so late Saturday afternoon into the evening is more likely. However, some of the short range models have it at least some light precipitation a little bit earlier in the day. We continue to trend icy. One of the computer models still holding on to the chance of some snow. But one of our most trusted models is purely freezing rain for us the entire time, almost the entire viewing area with freezing rain. So time to plan for outages. You really want to listen to what Carly Haynes has to say about that coming up in just a little bit, how you can prepare, how to stay safe. So high impact winter storm begins later on Saturday, looking more like ice than snow. Travel will be hazardous, but the real big issue will be the power outages. We also have some rain on the way that's unrelated to the wintry weather. This is tomorrow at 11 a.m. As we get into the afternoon, we're going to see a few showers. And I know we just saw the shot of the truck out brining. Well, we're going to have some rain that rolls in on Thursday, covering the viewing area late in the day and continuing into, say, early Friday. It may not be a real issue for the morning commute. It looks like most of it's over by that point on Friday, but could be another quick shower down east. And then the cold air arrives. There might be a little lingering moisture early on Saturday morning. That's 2 a.m. with a quick sprinkle and maybe, again, a little bit of light freezing rain in the morning. But the bulk of the precipitation arrives mid to late afternoon. And you can see this pink shaded area. That's going to be a wintry mix. It's possible that we would see a little snow mixing in with that. But this is really a signal for many of us that this is going to be, a rough situation with the freezing rain. We take a look at what's happening now. The only thing that we're really seeing on the map is this front, which is going to help to bring us some rain for tomorrow and into Friday. Then this front up near Minneapolis is going to deliver the cold air, and a low develops and starts to slide eastward. And we're going to talk more about how all of that comes together and the timing of when it comes in just a little bit.
And something you heard Elizabeth stress in her forecast, the potential for ice could bring power outages. Having no power and cold temperatures could fuel a safety concern. WRAL's Carly Haynes is live in downtown Raleigh with how to stay warm and avoid a fire risk. Carly.
Well, for so many people, they might have a portable generator, and that's something that you need to stay warm, but you also have to keep safety in mind so that you make sure first responders like the Raleigh Fire Department does not come to your home. Now, according to consumer safety reports, the best time to make sure your generator will work is before you even need it. Fuel on the generator could go bad over time, so to prevent that, you got to keep the fuel tank empty and have at least 10 gallons of fresh gasoline on hand. And, of course, store your generator in a clean, dry, and ventilated spot away from your home.
Storing a generator in your home or too close to it is dangerous because not only can vapors escape from gasoline, but gasoline is flammable and that can start a fire.
No, of course not. All of us have a generator and we still need to stay warm. So we took those questions to Wake County Fire, asked them what people should do, and we're going to have that for you on WRAL later this afternoon. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Now, if you haven't checked your carbon monoxide detector in a while, now is a good time to do so, especially with this storm headed our way. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless, and tasteless gas that develops when fuel is not burned completely. To prevent exposure, it is important to make sure that fuel burning appliances are well maintained. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning varies. In the early stages, it can cause headache, nausea, and shortness of breath. Longer exposure can lead to mental confusion, a loss of consciousness, and even death.
If you do develop symptoms, getting to the emergency department as soon as possible. And the first step in treatment is oxygen. And we put patients on 100% oxygen to help, because carbon monoxide actually impairs your body's ability to transport oxygen. So the more oxygen we can give you, the better you're going to be, and will help wash out that carbon monoxide.
And remember to always use a generator outdoors, not in a garage, away from windows. If your carbon monoxide detector does go off, leave the house immediately and call 911. Do not go back in to investigate. That is a job for emergency responders.
WRAL has the most experienced, largest severe weather team in North Carolina. So stay with WRAL for live coverage of the weather and traffic conditions now and through the weekend as well. We'll be tracking this storm across all our platforms, including the newly redesigned and updated WRAL weather app. Be sure to turn on the alerts, though, so you get those important updates right to your phone.
In just a matter of hours, we are expecting Austin Thompson to officially submit his guilty plea in court. Thompson's lawyers filed a notice yesterday that he intends to plead guilty to all counts in the mass shooting in Raleigh's Hedingham neighborhood. 5 people were killed in the fall of 2022, including Thompson's own brother and another person injured. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is live outside the Wake County Courthouse right now with how this will likely play out in court. Sean.
Renee, Judge Paul Ridgway will make that decision on whether to accept Thompson's guilty plea later this afternoon right here in courtroom 702 when it's expected to start at 2:30 this afternoon. But here's what we're learning about what will lead up to that decision-making process. In this case, Thompson is open pleading. That's different than what we've seen in the past, where a plea agreement will be offered by the state. In this case, they aren't. So Thompson isn't getting any concessions from the DA's office. He's pleading guilty to all 5 murder charges, 2 attempted murder charges, and 3 assault with a deadly weapon charges. Today, we can expect the state to give a rough summary of the evidence they would have submitted if this went to trial, so the judge can determine if those facts are enough to accept Thompson's guilty plea. And then after that, they'll determine a sentencing date, which will also be different. A local defense attorney unaffiliated with the case tells me it could last a week or even longer.
And so it'll be a long, drawn-out process where both sides are presenting mitigation. Well, I guess I would say the defense is presenting mitigation. His age, some of the other stuff that's been suggested in the filings, and then the state's presenting the impact that it had to the community and the victims, and then the judge is just deciding what sentence to impose.
So that sentencing will be so complex because at the time of the shooting, Thompson was under the age of 18, and by law, he cannot be sentenced to life without parole automatically. So when they get to that process, attorneys from both sides will make their arguments for what the punishment should be, and the judge will determine it from there. That date for sentencing should be set here behind me when they are in court, but we are told it should be sometime in early February. In the courthouse, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
And I'm Laura Levine here in the WRAL Live Center this noon. Right now, we are monitoring day 4 of testimony in the Isaiah Ross trial here. Right now, you're taking a look from inside the courtroom where the second witness that the prosecutor has called continues to describe his examinations. This is a forensic scientist supervisor of biology at NC State, Wendell Ivory. He talked about some of the DNA reports that were gathered beginning in June of 2024 through January 26, 2026. That is. The first witness also went through some of the examinations of hair this morning, as well as gunshot residue. We have WRAL's Megan Cloherty, who's going to be breaking down more in depth some of the findings from the testimony here inside the courtroom. That's coming up at 12:30.
Here in just a bit. Thank you, Laura. We have some breaking news that we're following as UNC Chapel Hill announced plans to extend Carolina North. It's the largest expansion of the university since the cornerstone of the old East Building was laid in 1793. WRAL's Brian Murphy spoke with Chancellor Lee Roberts about the development ahead of today's announcement.
Right now, this land in Chapel Hill is forests, trails, and even an old abandoned runway. But by the end of the decade, UNC Chapel Hill students could be living, attending class, and even going to a bar or restaurant. Maybe someone will even be playing basketball out here. It's billed as the most important expansion to UNC's campus since 1795. The university is moving ahead with plans to develop Carolina North. Carolina North is home to the old Horace Williams Airport. But by the end of the decade, these 230 acres could house 2,000 students and high-tech classrooms.
We have the ability to use it to help improve the future of the people of the state. We have an obligation to do that.
The university first devised plans for Carolina North nearly 2 decades ago. And as UNC expands its enrollment, Roberts says the time is right.
This is going to be a full-blown campus, a live, work, play, learn, research, study environment. And I think everyone knows what makes a campus feel special is the mix of uses. It's not having just residential or just classroom space or lab space or office space. It's putting everything together with plenty of recreational opportunities and open space that gives a campus its special feel, and we think we can replicate that at Carolina North.
Roberts said UNC intends to use public-private partnerships and leases to pay for the new campus. It won't be primarily funded by taxpayers, he said. Carolina North has been considered an ideal spot for a new home for UNC's basketball programs, but pushback to moving off campus has delayed a final decision.
There's no perfect solution. We think Carolina North could be a good solution. What's not a solution is the status quo. The advantage to Carolina North is you could build a new arena with modern amenities, with premium seating, which would certainly help us on the revenue side.
Roberts says the forest and many of the trails will remain, but the runway has got to go when construction starts in 2027. Brian Murphy, WRAL News, Chapel Hill.
Happening now here in the WRAL Live Center, WRAL has obtained a letter from Durham Public School superintendent that was sent out to families notifying parents that yesterday 3 Durham Public School administrators were indicted in connection with their response to a 2024 incident at Eno Valley involving student safety and court orders and law enforcement inquiries. And it says, while this matter is not related to current classroom instruction or daily operations, we recognize that this news may be concerning. So right now, WRAL News is digging into this. We covered an incident back in 2024. We're working to learn more information as to what this relates to and who are the 3 administrators that were indicted.
Much more to come on that. Laura, thank you. Tracking the Walk for Peace. We will show you new video of the Buddhist monks on a journey through our state to D.C. Plus, hear from someone who provided them medical care.
And Winter Storm Revisit. We're going to turn back the clock to that powerful storm back from 2002 and how we might see similarities this weekend.
Plus, what we're learning from court today in the trial of the man accused of killing 2 teenagers in Orange County.
Coming up next, see storms moving in with WRAL's exclusive Dual Doppler 5000, sponsored by the WRAL Weather app. Download now for live radar.
A group of Buddhist monks is getting closer and closer to the Triangle. Today, they will be making their way through Chatham County and are expected to stop in Siler City. Right now, they are in Randolph County. That's where we find WRAL's Heidi Kirk. And Heidi, a large crowd there gathered to catch a glimpse of the monks. Describe the mood for us.
Renee, so many people are packed into this small area outside of the Liberty Fire Department. I want to walk with you this way. Lots of people holding things like flowers. Someone just gave me some, but look at all the people coming out right here to see the monks just any minute. And if you come back with me this way, you'll notice right here up at the front, that is the area we're expecting those monks to come out, speak into the microphone, and share some words of peace, gratitude, wisdom, those words that we've really been hearing all across our area. You'll notice that all eyes are really up there right in this moment. But, you know, we've been tracking their stops all throughout their area. In fact, this is some video from Greensboro where we captured one of their stops yesterday. And it takes a lot of people to pull off these events, community members coming together to offer the monks meals and medical care. In fact, we talked to a physician's assistant just this morning who met up with them in Greensboro to provide some of that care.
It is a pretty surreal experience. It was so beautiful to actually see all people from all walks of life all get together, volunteering for for a really good cause. Something that is really simple, a walk, but yet was able to bring tons of us together to experience it.
And something that he touched on, bringing tons of us together. You'll notice the big crowds here. These people came from all over the place right here to this fire department to all just experience that joy that the monks should bring just any second now. Now we're expecting them to both speak and hand out bracelets to the members of these crowds. Some people brought things like flowers to hand to the monks. Just a really special moment overall. And after they leave here, they'll go to Siler City. We will also be tracking that leg of the journey as well. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, live in Liberty.
A lot of people willing to hear that message of peace. So looking at previous winter storms can kind of help us predict what's to come. That includes that one from 2002. And meteorologist Chris Michaels explains some of the similarities that we may see this weekend.
There are a lot of tools we can use to look toward the past, and we'll get to one of those here in just a second. But the most crucial tool is video that we have from our archives that you can see here from this December storm in 2002. It started out as snow, especially in the triangle and points northward. But as you'll see here in another couple clips, it changed over to some sleet and then to freezing rain. And there you see that sheen on the roads that was there. It resulted in power outages as well. Now let's look at the pattern from 2002 and how it's kind of similar to what's being modeled for this weekend. High pressure at least starts in Montana with a weak area of low pressure toward the coast. That combination gave us that mix of precipitation. You would like for the high pressure system to be stronger. That would mean colder air and more snow and less freezing rain. So from the North Carolina State Climate Office, they reconstructed this map and showed the several inches of snow in 2002 that they were closer to the mountains and the foothills. But with that event, we had about 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain, which is when power outages really became a concern. So we'll watch the trends in the data and see if something similar to this happens. If it does, we'll need to watch for down trees and outages starting Sunday.
And the reason why we bring up the storm from 2002, that was one of the worst ice storms that this area had experienced. The power outages lasted for days, even up to a week. So ice on power lines, power outages, a very serious concern.
And when you hear all that, this is why our team of meteorologists has been watching this so very closely. Elizabeth, I know, again, she was just talking about the icy conditions and the potential for outages.
Yes, and, as much as I could wish cast some snow here, it was kind of disappointing and, a little disconcerting to see the new model runs come in, continuing to just trend icy, and not that much snow. I went ahead and left it on the graphic. Snow's not a zero chance, but it just seems like each of the runs of the computer models that come in, it's freezing rain. So, our main focus is going to be power outages, especially from the triangle area southward, but really the entire viewing area. Anywhere we could end up with some power outages. We're going to see cold weather lingering for quite some time, well into, say, the middle of next week. So we're going to be dealing with this for quite some time. We talked about just a few minutes ago at the beginning of the newscast, one of the trends is starting a little bit later. So it may be mid to late afternoon into the evening before the precipitation begins. But we, of course, have this growing concern that this is going to be a whole lot of ice for us. We'll continue to watch. Of course, today's Wednesday. Hopefully that will shift a bit by the time we get to late Friday and into Saturday. But I went ahead and shifted the map a little bit. This is where, we're mainly looking at an icy mix. We do have the potential up closer to the Virginia line, maybe to see this beginning as some snow and then changing over to more ice. And then I think you're going to probably have to get pretty far up into Virginia or into the mountains to see this, more as snow. So why is this? What in the world is going on? Well, it is going to be cold. Cold air is dense and heavy and it settles on the ground. Well, the precipitation is going to be coming right out of the Gulf, which is going to be warm. And so the warm air will rise over the cold air and create layers in the atmosphere of different temperatures. So we have snow that then will melt as it moves into the warmer layer. And if it doesn't have enough time to freeze before it lands, it's going to freeze on, of course, cars and trees. The trees will break and we'll have power outages, and it'll make for some very slippery conditions on decks and stairs and things like that. If it does have time to freeze before it lands, it ends up as sleet, and that's a lot less messy. But I'll tell you, we're trending, maybe a lot of sleet in some places. The newer runs of the model are less sleet and more freezing rain, and we're really getting away from, much of a chance for snow. Here's a look at sort of a take at the timeline. Late Saturday afternoon into Saturday night, there might be some snow sleet mix up near the Virginia line, but it's trending toward a lot of us are going to see freezing rain as the main precipitation type out of this, again, starting late Saturday night. Travel issues, you want to stay off the roads. We're going to be dealing with power outages. Just plan to stay put for the weekend. Of course, so what you want to do is continue to check in with a reliable source of weather information, your WRAL weather app, our social media accounts, or of course right here on WRAL TV. Consider your weekend plans. You may want to go ahead and start to change those. And of course, just keep checking back with us. 52 is our normal high. We're going to see that this afternoon, 61 for tomorrow. And then once we get to the weekend, we see those temperatures dropping dramatically, especially those overnight lows down into the 20s and teens as the system rolls in. We're going to be dry until late tomorrow. I want to talk about our potential for some showers. That's on tap for Friday. And then, of course, the wintry precipitation. We'll touch on that again coming up.
And happening now here in the WRAL Live Center, a Wake County public school had to dismiss early today because of heating issues. This is the notice that went out to families at Highcroft Drive Elementary School. It says that due to problems with our heating system, we will dismiss students at 11:30. As students who receive school lunch will be given grab-and-go lunches, and then transportation was provided for students who ride the bus. This is something that we're going to follow as we are expected to see some seriously cold temperatures this weekend.
Laura, thank you. We're going to take you back to Randolph County right now in the town of Liberty. And the Buddhist monks, we've been following their journey across the country. They're in Randolph County right now, and they're about to speak to a crowd that has gathered to hear their message of peace and compassion. These monks will then make their way to Siler City later tonight. We'll be back with more news after this.
A new report found 4 in 10 companies plan to give across-the-board pay raises this year. This is instead of merit-based increases. The so-called peanut butter approach appears to spread raises evenly across the workforce, that is. And some companies are moving away from performance-based pay because of concerns about subjectivity and bias. Others see uniform raises as a simpler and more cost-effective way to manage compensation. Snapchat's parent company settled a social media addiction lawsuit just days before a trial in Los Angeles. A 19-year-old filed a lawsuit claiming the app was designed in a way that led to addiction and mental health issues. The lawsuit also names other platforms such as Meta, YouTube, and TikTok, and the case against those apps is set to move ahead next week.
The Trump administration has admitted that the 2 Doge employees may have misused data obtained from the Social Security Administration. A whistleblower first made that claim last summer. Doge argued it needed access to records to root out fraud. And according to a Justice Department court filing, the Social Security Administration is unable to determine what information was shared through a third-party server called Cloudflare, which is not approved to store agency records. Winter weather watch. A major storm is in our forecast for the weekend. What you can expect.
And we do want to get you another live look over at Randolph County, where one of the traveling monks for the Walk of Peace is addressing the crowd in Liberty there. This is a part of their Walk for Peace. We saw Heidi Kirk out there a little bit ago talking about how people have stopped by, bringing some gifts, and those just wanting to witness that message of peace that these monks are bringing. They're going to make their way to Siler City, and they're staying overnight at Jordan Matthews High School. They're going to have visiting hours tonight from 6 to 9 p.m. We'll be back right after this break.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Wintry weather is on the way, but it's still a little too soon to tell how much will be snow and how much will be ice.
But as you know, we have the most experienced, largest severe weather team in North Carolina. And meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center comparing models. And This has been something you've been checking moment by moment, Elizabeth.
You know, this has been really interesting to watch. I mean, it always is. It's tricky to forecast snow in an area where we're so close to a warm ocean and all of that moisture has to come in. So we really have to have a lot of cold air in place. So watching the trends over the last several days, we started, looking like, oh, this might be a real snowmaker for us. But it's really trending more freezing rain and more of an ice storm situation for the bulk of us. With the new models, they're coming into better agreement with the arrival, most likely late afternoon and evening on Saturday. So we shouldn't be dealing with this early Saturday, but keep checking back in case that changes. We're trending icy with this, and just even with every run of the model that comes in, it looks like more and more ice. So plan for power outages, whatever you can do. Get a hold of friends, see if anybody has a generator, or family. If you have family who y'all can check in with each other, who has power. But you'll have to watch being able to travel anywhere once the precipitation begins. It's going to be a high impact storm, more ice than snow. Travel will be hazardous, but power outages are probably going to be, just the worst that we'll see out of this. For tomorrow, we're going to have a pretty nice mild day, but in the afternoon, we'll have a wave of rain that comes through. Don't let that throw you off. We've been talking a lot about precipitation and our winter storm. It does start Saturday and not Thursday. This is just going to be a wave of rain that comes in and lasts until early Friday and then mostly tapers off. And then we'll start to see the precipitation as we get into Saturday. Now, it may be that some of that cold air arrives early enough to bring us maybe just a quick wintry mix in the morning, but none of that would be very heavy. Notice how it really starts to fill in around 3 or 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. And look at how much of it is pink, which would be freezing rain. That is not the final answer. Of course, we'll continue to watch that. We still have several days, so just keep checking back. This is a look at where the front is right now with the rain that'll be arriving in the next day or two. And then, of course, Saturday into Sunday, we're looking at a significant amount of ice, and there may be some snow mixed in as well. We'll check in again in just a little bit.
The WRAL Severe Weather Team is growing concern with the chance for mixed precipitation this weekend. Meteorologist Chris Michaels shows us why and what the difference is between freezing rain and sleet.
Oftentimes, how close we are to the Atlantic will help determine our precipitation type. It's really hard for us to get all snow throughout the entirety of a storm. So what you get are these little layers of warm air above the surface that can change the type of precipitation. If that layer is thicker, then you get more freezing rain. If that layer is a little thinner, then you get more sleet. You oftentimes are going to root for sleet because it pings, it bounces off of surfaces, kind of like sprinkles on a donut, right? However, freezing rain, it clings onto objects, power lines and trees, kind of like a glazed donut. We have a lot of folks who are new to the area that maybe aren't used to this kind of weather, and that's a helpful analogy for you. But once you get above 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 inch of ice that collects on power lines and trees, that's when you start.
Our teacher of the week actually retired, but came back to the classroom on a part-time basis. WRAL's Ken Smith explains why teaching means so much to her.
Give me a thumbs up if you said Harmony did it correctly.
The sum of Darla Baker's passion for teaching math equals the more than 3 decades she spent in the classroom.
Finish that warm-up that we did at the beginning.
Teaching came naturally to Baker at a very early age.
Actually, I began teaching before I was ever out of elementary school. I was the student that the teacher would put with the kids that didn't quite get it or couldn't get it as quickly. 1/2 of 2250.
That desire to help all students, and not just the gifted ones, is at the heart of her approach to teaching and why she continues to teach part-time at 2 schools, including here at Garner Magnet High School.
I tried to build positive relationships with the students, and then I get to see where they end up, and it's really neat to keep seeing them come back. Be good. Y'all have a good one.
Baker says she thrives on the success of the students she teaches and has taught over the years.
I actually taught a professional women's basketball player, Rosalind Kennedy, who now gives back to the community in Wilson. I taught Sabrina Thompson, who ended up being one of the finalists on one of the Survivor Series, and she has many nonprofits in the New York area.
Ms. Baker, you are WRAL's Teacher of the Week. Give her a big round of applause.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, if you'd like to nominate a teacher, go to WRAL.com and enter Teacher of the Week in the search box.
Rejecting robotics. A program designed to improve medical access is not winning over some physicians. Why they say the technology cannot replace that human touch. And juvenile crimes are up. Juvenile detention centers are beyond full, which is why WRAL Investigates dug into new data from the state and the solutions on the table. Overcapacity and understaffed. That's the picture painted about our state's juvenile jails in a newly released state report. WRAL Investigates' Sarah Kruger breaks down the findings from those reports.
The report highlights a lot of challenges. It says more kids are being sent to these facilities and they are out of room. The report from the state covering 2024 also notes the kids sent to juvenile detention centers are spending more time there than before, an average of 39 days compared to 35 in 2023 and just 15 days back in 2015. The number of juvenile complaints, the equivalent of charges, was also up to more than 40,000, with the most common issues being fights, breaking into cars, and stealing cars.
And when you say facilities are over capacity, what does that look like?
So right now that means that kids are sleeping on day room floors on cots, and so those day room floors are where we do programming, so that's where we do school. It makes it really difficult for us to do the programming and the mental health services that we need to do for these young people to help turn their lives around.
He says a few things need to happen to address this issue. He believes staff needs to be paid more. That would hopefully help with recruiting and retention. He also says the state needs another juvenile detention center, and the state has allotted money to at least plan for another one. And then, of course, root causes. He says their research has shown that community-based solutions that focus on prevention are effective. So he would like to see more money going toward that. Sarah Kruger, WRAL News in Wake County.
A federal program is distributing $50 billion across all 50 states in an effort to address the shortage of OBGYNs in rural areas. That money is for robotic ultrasounds. And one doctor in Alabama says the technology does not make up for actual human care. The doctor serves patients in 5 rural counties. While she acknowledges that the maternal mortality rate is a problem, she doesn't think that using a robotic ultrasound is the way to fix it. She'd rather see that money invested to bring doctors back to these maternal health care deserts.
There's something to be said about just human reaction, touching someone, hugging them if they get bad news. So for me, I want that. That's one of the reasons I actually went into OBGYN, is because you have continuity of care.
North Carolina received $213 million from the Rural Health Transportation Program to help expand care, mental health services, and the rural health workforce.
We do want to dive into that next weather maker. I mean, it's really what we're going to be talking about through the weekend, given the situation that we're watching closely there, Elizabeth. Talk a little bit about where it is right now, that system, and the potential for ice, even power outages.
Yeah, we're still watching the development of it. The high pressure system that's going to help to deliver the cold air is starting to move into Montana right now. We're going to hope it continues to track farther east. That would help bring more snow, but that is not the way the models are trending. We do have this cold front. It's going to bring us some rain late tomorrow into Friday, unrelated to what's likely to develop as we see a low that moves across the south and picks up some of that Gulf moisture, which has a lot of warmth with it. And that's why this is making it such a tricky forecast. This is brand new. Just came in about 5 to 10 minutes ago. It's a winter storm watch almost to our viewing area. This is Person County in our viewing area. That's going to be Caswell County and then westward. Charlotte's included, Statesville, and of course the mountains. And in this area, it's for 1 to 6 inches of snow and up to an inch of ice. An inch of ice is a lot of ice and can cause some really significant damage. It is likely that either sometime later today or tomorrow, our area will go under a winter storm watch as well. This is from Saturday all the way to Monday. So we haven't completely taken snow out of the forecast by any means, but certainly it looks like our chances for snow are trending downward. And if you're going to see snow, you're going to be probably fairly far north. Accumulation could cause some issues for travel. Ice could cause problems for travel, but mostly power outages are really going to be a big thing for our viewing area. Once the precipitation tapers off late Sunday, we're still going to be dealing with very cold temperatures, near record lows, high temperatures not making it above freezing for Saturday, Sunday, and then barely on Monday and Tuesday as well. This is a look at our setup. Again, we were looking at that high pressure system starting to dive in. Oh, did they just filled in. Let me see if I can back this up a little bit. Let's see oh yeah, there it is. Thanks, Kat. If I'd waited one more second. But anyway, we were expecting this. Most of the viewing area under a winter storm watch, likely these southern counties, so Hope County, Cumberland, and Sampson and Wayne counties will probably go under that watch as well. Again, maybe later on this evening or tomorrow. So officially, winter storm watch for us. Okay, let's go back to where we were with what's happening out here. This low is definitely going to pull up a lot of warmth from the Gulf of Mexico. And so we need a high pressure system that is really has a lot of muscle and is really going to pull down a lot of cold air if we're going to see much snow. And if it stays too far to the west, back here where it may end up being, it just may not have enough oomph. We really need it to be in the northeast to deliver the kind of cold air that we may need to see more snow. So that is why the models continue to trend a little more icy than snowy. So again, from Raleigh southward, maybe there's a little bit of snow in here, but we're really, kind of getting ready for a pretty serious ice storm. The farther north you go, we may have a little bit more snow trying to mix in with it. So it just looks like a mess. Don't forget, unrelated, tomorrow's going to be a nice warm day. We'll end the day with some showers that could linger into Friday. The amount of rain that we see should be fairly light. And of course, we'll continue to watch this very carefully Saturday and Sunday. Of course, our WRAL weather alert days.
Yeah, make sure you keep that app downloaded so you can get updates just like you saw Kat deliver a bit ago. Thanks, Elizabeth. Staying grounded. A veteran astronaut is calling it a career. How Sunny Williams will be remembered.
And here's a look at your winning Mega Millions numbers: 8, 47, 50, 56, and 70. The gold Mega Ball is 12. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. Emergency crews across our area are getting ready for this major winter storm. Today, DOT trucks are out on the roads spreading brine. We are anticipating conditions to get icy. Another big concern is power outages. Those crews are also preparing. We'll share some safety tips during our evening news starting at 4. So stay connected to updates on air, online, and with the WRAL News and WRAL weather apps.
This afternoon, we are expecting Austin Thompson to officially submit his guilty plea in court. He's the teenager facing charges in the Raleigh mass shooting from 2022. Thompson's lawyers filed a notice saying that he intends to plead guilty to all counts. 5 people were killed in that Handeham neighborhood back in 2022, including Thompson's brother. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is at the Wake County Courthouse and will bring us developments on air and online.
A group of Buddhist monks walking for peace is getting closer and closer to the Triangle. Right now, they are in Randolph County, speaking to crowds, sharing words of wisdom and compassion and mindfulness. Today, they will make their way through Chatham County, and they're expected to stop in Siler City. They will have visiting hours tonight from 6 to 9. The monks are on a 2,300-mile journey to the nation's capital, inspiring a lot of people along the way.
We're getting new surveillance video of that stunning jewel heist that happened at the Louvre in Paris. What you see here is the footage showing the 2 thieves disguised as maintenance workers using circular saws and then their fists to smash display cases back in October. This will never not look like a Netflix movie. Goodness. The pair snatched $102 million worth of jewelry and they escaped in about 4 minutes' time. Investigators in France have 4 men in custody. One man's girlfriend is also charged as an accomplice. And the stolen treasure from that, still missing. Goodness.
After nearly 30 years with NASA, Sunny Williams is turning in her spacesuit. The former Navy pilot joined NASA in 1988 and set several spaceflight records during her time with the agency. She logged 608 days in space during her career as an astronaut. Williams and fellow astronaut Butch Wilmore famously spent nearly 10 months in space due to technical issues with the Starliner vehicle. Nearly 10 months that they did not plan for, and now both are retired from NASA following that Starliner voyage.
Yeah, I don't blame him for wanting to retire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, our pet of the day is a very sweet and affectionate girl from Cat Angel's Pet Adoptions. Dottie Jr. is very shy with strangers, but once she feels safe, she's bold, brave, and a bit hilarious. She loves to play with other cats, so if you have a lonely cat at home who needs a BFF, well, turns out Dottie might just be the one for you. Dottie Jr. will also join you on the bed for snuggles, just to be close. And if you'd like to see her in person, just fill out an application on the Cat Angels website.
Today on WRAL News at 4, Raleigh Mayor Janet Cowell is calling for a review of the city's protest policies. A look at the current policies and why some may be outdated amid the current political climate.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL with their next local news update in 30 minutes.
You can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Have a great day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.